Hello, my international audience all around the world watching my show today. It's the SMC Journal podcast, and I'm Scott Moore, your host. This is the show where it's all about performance engineering, testing, tuning, monitoring in IT today. And I know that many people who watch this show are hardcore performance engineers, and you're always looking to advance your knowledge. And sometimes you go to conferences and you see presentations where there's not a whole lot of meat, right? There is a advertisement for a vendor, and then there's a sales cycle involved after that. And any information that you give, you feel like you're being pounced on because you wanted to see some information around a tool you might be using, for example. Today is going to be different than that, I promise you. We're going to be talking about a conference that's coming from more of the academia side of the house, where if you're wanting to get deep and you're wanting to learn more about theory and about how things should be working and what other companies and other academics are actually experiencing in the real world, this is the show for you. Before we talk about that, let's talk about the sponsors that make this podcast possible. This episode is sponsored by Micro Focus and the LoadRunner Solutions family. That includes LoadRunner Professional, Enterprise, Cloud, and Developer. You know, performance matters. Did you know that LoadRunner Solutions have the largest community of practitioners in the world? Join that community at community.microfocus.com, scan the QR code, and check out the LoadRunner family page on performance engineering, as well as their YouTube playlist that we've got links for in the show notes on smcjournal.com as well as YouTube. This podcast is sponsored by Folk Consulting. They offer high-quality consulting services around application performance management and operational monitoring of system performance. Ryan Folk and his staff of highly experienced consultants can handle any of your needs around application delivery management, analytics, application performance testing, monitoring, and digital management. Find out more at folkconsulting.com. This podcast is sponsored by Oracy Software. For over 20 years, Oracy, a DevSecOps innovator, has helped companies innovate, accelerate, and automate the entire software development lifecycle. Oracy AppSec and Oracy Cloud Solutions and Services offer full lifecycle support and integration to ensure scalability of transformative applications. Also, they're the makers of Oracy Labs, the train anyone, anywhere, anytime AWS cloud-native virtual e-learning platform. Oracy works with hundreds of global brands as customers and partners, including Fortune 500 companies across a variety of industries. Find out more at oracy.com. So, what are we talking about today? We are going to talk about a conference called the International Conference on Performance Engineering. And if you haven't heard about it, it may be because you've not been to an academia level conference. You've been looking at vendor sponsored conferences. So I was introduced to this from my friend Alex Padelko, but I found out that my other friend, David Daly from MongoDB, is also involved in this conference. And I thought I'd bring him on the show to talk a little bit about it and let you know about it and see where they're coming from. So I've got an interview that we want to go to right now with David Daly. Let's talk about it. Hey, David, welcome to the SMC Journal podcast today.
Hey, Scott, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
It is always great to talk to you. I know you as one of the senior engineers at MongoDB, but I was today years old when I found out that you're also involved with this conference called the International Conference on Performance Engineering. So tell me more about that.
Yeah, so this conference, it's a performance engineering conference. It's an academic conference, but it's an academic conference that I've been involved in the last few years from industry. It's been very welcoming to industry participation. I learned a lot there, and I've been able to share some of the cool stuff that we've done at MongoDB at that conference.
How long has this organization been around? Because I think I had heard of it maybe a year or two ago, but it goes farther back than that, right?
Yeah, you put me on the spot. It goes back many, many years. I don't know exactly how far, but it's a joint conference between the SPEC RG research group and the ACM. And it's been going on. I think maybe like 12, 13 years. I know it's been
Okay.
going on at least 10 years because they have a 10-year most impactful paper award.
You know what? The website, icpe.spec.org. I'm going to go, while you're talking, let me bring that website up on the screen. So this just tells you about the organization, and we'll definitely be sharing the links on this episode in the show notes and on the website, smcjournal.com. But this site talks about the organization and what they are doing, kind of. And I looked at a glance here, and it says that the goal of this group is to integrate theory and practice in the field of performance engineering by a forum of sharing ideas and experience between industry and academia. Now, I'm familiar with the PAC, the Performance Advisory Council. Of course, that's sponsored by Tricentis, but this sounds like it's more coming from the academic world, but you're sort of wanting to bring in industry and organizations from companies, private companies.
And this is definitely, originating more from the academic side. I mean, SPEC is an industry organization, so industry has always been involved with it, but it has more of the academic feel to it.
I see here it says the inception was ICPE was founded in 2010, and it was a merger of the ACM workshop on software and performance (WOSP) and the SPEC International Performance Evaluation Workshop, which these are no, more acronyms that I've seen before. But since its inception in 1998, WOSP has brought together software engineers, developers, performance analysts, and modelers who are addressing the challenge of today's complexity system. I would think that this is something that's needed more than ever today as everything continues to get more and more complex. And as I hear this word complexity, I also hear the word necessity right after it, saying, yes, things are more complex, but it's necessary that they be more complex so we can make them better. But in my engineering mind, I think complexity and I think, okay, that means more testing, more planning, more modeling. And so that's why we need this kind of thing. Is that what you address in these presentations and talks?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the format of the conference, I mean, there's a number of workshops and then the main conference with peer-reviewed papers. And the on the academic side, it's really trying to look out a little bit and figure out, advance the theory that performance engineering is based on. That theory is only useful if it's used, though. And so having the industry participation, both attendance at the conference, but also submitting papers and talking about how we use the theory or where the theory comes up short is incredibly valuable in that conversation. And for me personally, in my job, I've shared some of the things that we've developed, but I've also gotten academics thinking about my problems and
Mm-hmm.
trying to solve my problems. And that it's just a win-win. They're working on problems that they know that matter, a place to show that their theories are useful, and I get to do my job better.
That's great. And I've seen your presentations on YouTube that you've shared as an engineer from Mongo and the experiences that you've had. You're an interesting speaker. The content is exceptional. So, I mean, if you were the only person speaking, I'd want to come see this. But who else might we see in a conference like this, or who's been involved in the past that we might know?
Last year, we had a talk from a group at IBM that was focused on their cloud storage and some analysis they did that made their storage faster, and explained why it was the way it is. And that's cloud scale. It's large scale. It's something an academic can't really do, but it pulled back sort of the window of how IBM was doing that. We have some other examples in there, uh, but at least we're recruiting widely. I have pulled together a community of people we got people from uh, Amazon and just reached out to some people from Slack, HP, and all sorts of people who are doing interesting performance work, and trying to both encourage them to be there and participate, but also to help us organize this on the industry side so that we have a wonderful organization there.
So if I wanted to speak at this event, when I hear that this is more of an academic crowd, of course, I get even more intimidated. I feel like, okay, I've got to be a senior engineer and I've got to have an experience that is at super scale to share something that will be interesting or major questions that I'm asking that nobody's been able to figure out yet. Is that how should I be thinking if I wanted to speak at something like this? What are the kinds of uh, presentations that you're looking for?
We're First off, we don't want it to be intimidating. If you don't have experience writing papers before, don't worry about it. Get the content in, and submit it. We can help. Honestly, what we care most about is the sharing of ideas.
Mm,
Um, so please don't be intimidated. Um, but what we're looking for, in fact, we have on the industry track page on the website, we have a rubric already written down because we want to be very clear about this. So we're looking for original industrial application. So that could be something like using a performance engineering method or theory in a novel way in practice, um, or a new practical solution to a production system, or a description of a previously undocumented industry best practice. There's lots of things that we probably as practitioners know, but no one's actually written down and shared with others. You got the first one of those. I am glad to have that as a paper at our conference because, one, it helps others coming in know what's going on, and it helps the academics know what's going on and better tailor new theory to what's actually happening. So we put a lot of stuff in, but mainly it's just about sharing something new, and new from the sense of it hasn't been published in an academic setting before.
mm.
Right. You talked about it, you got blogs, fine, write a paper. We'll be glad to have it. And we want to be really flexible and inviting. There's a page limit, there's not a page minimum. If your great idea is only a few pages, but we haven't talked about it before, put it in. That's not a problem.
Good,
Now,
good. So what's the next event that you're preparing for right now? Is it the ICPE 2023?
this ICP 2023,
I've got that
and
page up here. It's icpe2023.spec.org. I'm going to bring it up on the screen while you're talking about it.
I was just going to say there's a couple important dates coming up. So if you think you might be interested in submitting a paper, abstracts, so just a short summary of what you're going to write, are due October 14th, and the full papers are due October 21st. That gives us lots of time to then review the papers from the program committee and get responses out, and for you to be able to do final camera ready versions. And then the conference itself is April 15th through 19th in Coimbra, Portugal. Greatly looking forward to going to Portugal in the spring.
Sounds very exciting. Yeah. So we've got time, but it sounds like it's a long way away. Number one, it'll be here before you know it. Secondly, it takes a lot of prep work and a lot of runway to get these type of events set up and get everybody coordinated, especially if people are going to be traveling internationally like this. Is there any other than just starting the submissions and getting the process started? Is there anything else that somebody may need to know before they jump off and try to contact you about this?
No, just get started thinking about what you should contribute and start writing. If you have questions, please reach out and know that the accepted papers are in the ACM digital library. It's a publication. It's a peer-reviewed publication, and those look good. They're nice to have.
Good resume builders for up and
Yes.
coming performance engineers that are doing interesting things. David, thank you so much for being on the show today. We'll definitely share all of this out there, and I hope to see you more. You're always welcome on the show, by the way, to talk about anything you want, because I know you're always messing with interesting stuff. But any kind of data output that you want to share of things you've been learning, bring it on because that's what this show is about.
Excellent. That sounds great. Thank you very
Anything
much.
else you want to share about what you might be doing personally or in at Mongo or anywhere else?
Oh, we just keep chugging along. I need to write up and organize some thoughts on stuff, but we're team's growing and the company keeps doing great stuff. So hopefully we get to share a little bit more in the near future.
Awesome. I was actually messing with a Mongo database today, and I was
Right.
thinking about you. And so it just was uncanny that you were going to be on the podcast today. Thanks again, David. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, so if you want to know more about that conference, make sure you check out the show notes and click on those links. And hopefully, some of you will want to submit a paper and be involved in this conference. I'd really like to hear if you do that. And if you heard about it from here, let me know. Give me your feedback. You can find me on my website at scottmore.consulting. I'm also very active on LinkedIn, and there is a URL to my profile there, as well as I have a Twitter handle. Not as active on Twitter, but Load Tester is my Twitter handle. If you just want to use regular old email to talk to me, I'm available at help@scottmore.consulting. Do you like this type of content on YouTube? If you do, please like and subscribe to this video channel here on YouTube, and ring the little bell so that you'll know when I have new episodes that come out. They're typically Tuesday and Thursday mornings at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. And we've been doing this pretty much the whole year. We've got about 25 more episodes to go before the end of the year. So I'm being very selective on who I talk to about this because I want to bring you the best content I can. So let me know if I'm doing that. Give me your feedback today, and let me know what you think about this show and other shows and what you'd like to see. For this episode of the SMC Journal Podcast, this is Scott Moore saying thank you again for watching, and bye-bye.